were no big headlines going into this weekend, although there were still some headlines that it was announced that this week that the cars would be having a different aerodynamic package for the for the Chicagoland events for all three series. This package is supposed to reduce the big crashes that we had in the past, like most notably the car spinning off into turn 3 and having huge hits in that turn, and also most notable for Connor Stanton's 2011 crash that his car went up in the fence. This would also help the efficiency of the racing, as this would have the racing more spread out for the drivers, as this would incorporate the pack racing and also the more spread out racing for the Cup Series drivers and the Gatorade and Truck Series drivers. That's all I have for the highlights, but for any other changes, Jason Kylasso, who was formerly a free agent, has now been signed to Piper Incorporation to take over the 29 car until they can get a word from Blake Camphausen, who was supposedly going to be in that car. Either way, Camphausen will have the rookie stripes on that car. As Kylasso, if Camphausen denies it or does not even answer the contract, then Kylasso will be the driver for the remainder of the year. Kylasso was not able to get his car in due to the fact that the qualifying races were rained out. For the entire weekend itself, the qualifying races were rained out, so the first 12 cars not locked into the event, excluding the past championship originals, were automatically guaranteed a spot in the race due to the fact the truck race was continued on and scheduled as normal, as Lee Canson, if I pronounced that correctly, ended up leading the most laps and held off Boris Johansson to score his first career NOVAR GameStop Truck Series victory. His previous finish, he's only competed in 3 of the 4 events, having a 35th and a 28th at Dentonville and Austin Motor Speedway. Then we have Jacob Walterson grabbing the win at Chicagoland, as he only started in 2 races. He is already up to 10th in points, only sitting 54 behind for the NOVAR GameStop. So we should see some really good racing going on. As for the points update, if you don't really follow, here's a basic look around for your top 5. The top 5 in the GameStop Truck Series is that Boyce Johansson is your points leader by 4 over Matthew Trott. Charles Smith in the number 1 is third, 19 behind the leader. Ryan Cobain is in 4th with 29 behind the leader, and Dalton Simona, who dominated Las Vegas but ran out of gas coming to the white flag, he's in 5th position, 35 behind. And then with your points in the Gatorade Series event, Ryan Fairchild has a whopping 36 points, lead over Pike Patton. Jake Donnelly is in 3rd with 41 behind. Grant Wilson is 44 behind, and then Chris Clark in the 21 is 45 behind. That is how the point stands after the first 4 events for each of them. The next race is, I believe, at Branson Raceway, which is a 1.7 mile track, and that track should be a good race. And now I'm going to finally hand it off to Kendall Johnson for the race recap. This should be a race. The Aflac Polo would go to car number 15, Chandler Blake, his first since, I believe, Gateway of 2010, if I'm not sure if that's actually right, but I'll have to look back later. He gets a good sizable lead over Kano Suzuki, who started 2nd, as the pack is already starting to go 3 wide, as we did not have a wreck coming off that turn 2, as that has been a place known for wrecks. As going into turn 3, Blake and Zuki will use the middle line. Zuki will go to the bottom. Blake would lead the first lap. However, the first caution was a pretty big crash on lap 2. Mark McGill someone would hit the wall, and then Mark McGill would come down, and then there's a huge crash behind them. On the top of your screen, we have a big crash behind them. This is from David Payton's perspective. The 56 gets into the 88, and then the 24 gets turned, and then it's just on from there. Several notable cars. There's Harden over. Shane Harden, the 59, is up and over a couple of cars. There's the 24. Just several cars would go out of this race, including the 59 of Shane Harden, who crashed out at California. He's not had a good race, including Jared Webler, who this isn't probably like the first time he's crashed out of a race, as this was his luck that happened during the NOVAR season early in the going. Here's from Mike Hogan's perspective. He would be involved in this first part of the wreck, as he gets hit from the 24 and spins around, keeps on going. And then Ike Chase Jr. turns the 14 around, and then 7 is collected. Brandon Green in the 30 is also in there. Mac Hamlin in the 28 is also in there. So it looks like they all have a drive away. Carter 15 and Chad Blake led on that restart. Carson Brunk is a lap down. We have Kano Zuki in second, Sean McDowell third, Scott Harper fourth, Brian Dawson in fifth. As it looks like they'll be heading into turn number 1. Car 15 has a really strong car right now, with Kano Zuki is in second. Third is Sean McDowell. Looks like there has been a lot of problems with the 52 of Kano Zuki. Here they come into turn number 3. Zuki Blake goes high and then Zuki goes low. As looks like the 6 Kano Zuki does not make it pass. However, he gets pretty close to making a pass. As looks like going into turn 1, Kano Zuki goes to the inside of the 15 and looks like he may have gotten that raw off of turn 2, and looks like if he can stick it in 3 and 4, looks like he'll take the lead. He tries to get there. Looks like he gets a good push. And looks like we have our first lead change of the night with Kano Zuki in the 71 gets to the lead of this race. We would have our next caution. Shane Argan and Carter Pavish get into the wall. The 4 and 32 we get in there, and then Carson Parank just gets into the 52, and then Eddie Johnson, the 32 is up and over. And then Damon Scott on the 18 has nowhere to go. So Damon Scott had a really tough past weeks, and now looks like car number 32 is going to come to a stop onto his roof. As here's from Carter Pavish's perspective, he gets hit from the 32 and then spins. He gets some air right there, and then the 55 Eddie Johnson, Densville 250 winners collected as well. And then that's pretty much all. We had caution flag pit stops. Kano Zuki would have led the field out, but that happened. Car 71 would be forced to pit, and there you see Sean McDowell in there, but neither of them would lead. But nor McDowell would lead coming to this race. Instead, it was your 5th place man in points, Daniel Salomon, with Casey Linger in second, the 21 of Jesse Donahue in third, Brian Wilson in fourth, and Walter Green in fifth. Walter Green will most likely hang on to the points lead due to the fact that most of his championship contenders were involved in that either that lap 2 crash or in the lap 9 crash, which I believe we didn't have any in the lap 9 crash. Casey Linger would attempt to take the lead away from the number 99 of Salomon. It looks like he will, I believe, successfully do it. Linger, who ran pretty well in Las Vegas, I believe he finished 18th in that event, but that was due to like some shuffling. There you see Donahue is also in there. Donahue has still had a bad season at this point, but it's at least better than it was last year. Brian Wilson has a really terrible season so far. He is right now, I believe, on the verge about to fall out of the top 30 in points. And then Walter Green's having a really good season. Then there you see Daniel Salomon into the wall. Salomon's had a really good season for 2012. He's, with how the points are going to shake out, he'll most likely be in second in points as this race comes to a close. We would have our third caution on lap number 14 as Scott Johnson turns to 95 of Evan Brooks, and he will spin down the backstretch. And however, the 95 would somehow catch fire as he was done for the day. As we have another incident, Carson Brank, for no apparent reason, just runs up the racetrack, gets into Brian Dawson. Michael Scott's collected, and car 64 is going for a series of barrels with Cameron Brooks is collected as well. The 64 is going for barrels, and he gets hit hard by McDowell. And the 64 will looks like he'll land on his wheels. However, let's see from McDowell's perspective, he made no effort to slow down, and that's what pays the price here. McDowell was a bit shaken from that crash, but he was alright. Car 07, however, that car was demolished. The 30 of Brandon Green will lead us restart with Ike Chase Jr. in second, Casey Linger third, Jesse Donahue fourth, and Walter Green in fifth. Car number 09 of Ike Chase Jr. We haven't talked about him a lot, but he's had a really good 2012. He dominated Atlantic City, but he's had pretty much an up and down 2012, and I believe he's in 13th in points, if I wasn't mistaken. Car number 09, Brandon Ike Chase Jr. He dominated Atlantic City. He's pretty much been running up to pretty much save the least. He's been running up front, but whenever he's been running up front, he either crashes out of the race. However, we have our next caution right behind his back. Walter Houston in the 8 gets turned sideways and then spins again. I don't know why this was out for a caution, but I believe it was a threat to the racing environment, and that's why they threw it out. Car 8 would continue on. This happened on lap 20. Lap 24 restart. It would be Brandon Green and as the race leader with Ike J. The top 5 were pretty much the same as it was, I believe, the last restart. But what I was saying is that Ike J. Jr. had a, whenever he's run well, he's somewhat crashed out or had a poor finish to come with it. But today has been a pretty good day for Ike J. Jr. His car is really strong, to say the least, and this is probably to date his best season. And there you see the 30 of Brandon Green. He's your race leader. Brandon Green has had a rough start to the season. However, today is going to pretty much be no different. I believe he qualified for California. I believe he also made it in for Las Vegas, if I wasn't mistaken. But Brandon Green, he did fare off well in California, and then for this week he is doing pretty well. And then you see Scott Harper in the 6. He was involved in, I believe, the lap number 2 wreck. He was involved in that lap 2 wreck and got some damage in that one. His car is still going. There you see the 5 of Casey Littinger. He already maneuvered around the 6. As we'll see the 5. There's the 5 of Littinger. Littinger would have a really strong car, as he did pretty well. As I mentioned, he did pretty well in Las Vegas. Got an 18th in that race. And this car would be really strong, as DM has had a really good. And to pretty much note it out, DM Racing in general is having a pretty good race. The 42 is in that pack. Kimmel hasn't crashed out yet. The only car that's had a really terrible day was Peyton, who crashed out in that lap 2 crash. But in general, DM Racing's had a pretty decent season so far. And they see 3 wide for the lead, and then Brandon Green gets into the wall as the Ike J. Jr. will take the lead, and then Casey Littinger in the 5 would pretty much get to the lead as well. But he's have to maneuver around the 6 of Harper, and then Harper gets loose in the middle of turn 1 and 2. That's going to help Littinger hang on to the lead. As here comes Ike J. Jr. He'll get the lead expanded back up, and then here comes the 5 of Littinger. Littinger will get to the inside as he's just going to try to close the gap. And then you see Harper, and looks like Brandon Green's into the wall and get along with Scott Harper. Along with her. And then we saw some really good racing towards the back. As I mentioned, Alan Kimmel was having a pretty good day. And there you see 3 wide off of turn 2 and near contact between the 21 and 99. That was up ahead between these leaders. There you see Luke Warren is also in there. Keith Hill's in the 27. Right there you see Alan Kimmel. Casey Littinger would actually take the lead, and we pretty much missed that clip. As you see, there's the backpack again. With Brandon Green is also in there. Corey Von Delga in the 23. He's had a pretty good season so far as a rookie. However, was not one of the fan favorites. Here's what happened on that pass for the lead. The clips ended up missing that one, so at least the cameras were nice enough to show us what actually happened. Littinger got to the inside of the zone 9 as they head off at turn 2. Car number 5 would try to stick it towards the bottom of their racetrack. It looks like he will get to the lead coming off at turn 4. Car number 5 from this point on would just pretty much just sail away with it. We would have nothing big, but green flag stops would happen from lap 68 through 72. This was a quick, this is 10 times the speed, as you see several cars just getting into pit road. This is a quick clip that we got. We sped it up to in order to save time. As you see, there's Carson Rank in the 52. He's been off the pace. Just because we had green flag stops doesn't mean we're going to have no yellow flags. Our 5th caution came out lap 78 as Walter Houston, Mike Hogan, and Keith Hales all get turned around. The 27 was running, I believe, 13th at the time. The 7 and 8 were pretty much off the pace. As Walter Houston, as he tries to fire back, Jesse Donahue and Alan Kimmel, the 2nd and 3rd place drivers, smash into Walter Houston. So Casey Littinger's only competitors have crashed, and let's see what happened with those two. Johnny Hugh was about to take the lead away from Littinger. He saw the smoke and then ended up thinking he was going to try to get under, but then he smashes into the 8. Kimmel would get minor damage, however, car 21 was done for the day. Casey Littinger would lead on this restart with Brian Wilson in 2nd, Luke Warren 3rd, Gordon Biller 4th, and then Shane Bliss in 5th. As car number 5 would get to a pretty decent gap. And from this point on, Brian Wilson and Casey Littinger, they'll pretty much just sail away from everybody. As car number 90 will advance run Walter Green. Walter Green's had a dismal day, but otherwise he'll probably hang on to the points lead, as his points rival from this point on is Daniel Salmon is, I believe, running in 9th. Is running inside the top 10, but I believe he's running in the 7th spot, if I was mistaken. So Walter Green, despite the miserable day, he will at least have something good on his notes on hanging on to the points lead, leaving this track. As here comes the 5, Casey Littinger, Wilson in a 90. These two would put up a really good battle for the lead. This happened on lap 100, as Brian Wilson, as Littinger tries to get to the outside, and Carson Brink gets up to the outside, and Brian Wilson gets to the lead around the 5, as they're going to get to the inside. Car number 5 will get to the lead. When 90 would get to the lead, and then 3, and then about 2 laps later, Casey Littinger would fight his way back to the lead and show how well this 5 car was built. As here they come into turn number 1. Now entering turn number 1, car number 5 will try to seek his move again. He almost did it again, but he failed. And then Casey Littinger would successfully do it this time by passing the number 90 for the race lead. And however, Wilson, just because he gave up, he wouldn't give up. This is with 6 laps to go, and Wilson will try to get to the inside. However, Casey Littinger gets that good run off turn 2 on the outside. So Wilson will have a try again this time, but the car gets loose off of that corner, and then Littinger expands back to that lead. And then not only that, Wilson will try again with, this was with 3 to go, coming to 2 laps to go, as Wilson tries to get to the inside, and Littinger would hang on to the outside. It's going to be a drag race to see who will lead this lap. It would be Littinger. However, going into 1, Wilson will end up losing the car on the inside, and Casey Littinger would drag his way back up to the outside, as car number 5 has been really strong, with Brian Wilson being the only competitor that can hang with him, and I believe Wilson blew his chance unless if some miracle happens within this next lap, because they're going to be taking the white flag this time. Car number 5 is the leader. As you see, there is lap traffic up ahead. That is the 52 of Carson Brink. Brink's been in the way of everybody, and let's see if he'll be a factor in the finish. The 5 of Littinger entering 3. Does Wilson have one last chance? Wilson, looks like Littinger goes high, Wilson goes long. It's going to be a drag race. Now coming out of 4, Littinger, Wilson, and here they come to the line. It will be Casey Littinger scoring his first career NOVAR Verizon Cup Series win, and he crashes along with Carson Brink and Brian Wilson, but that doesn't really matter. Littinger is the first rookie this year to win a NOVAR race. Second was Wilson, third was Brandon Green, fourth was Ike Chase Jr., and rounding out the top 5 was Daniel Salomon. So great race for Casey Littinger. And he did it the Ethan Littinger way.